Welcome to the Do You Rules podcast. This episode is not for light consumption. This is a confrontation, not of others, of self. If you are the leader, the frequency holder, the builder of the room, this is your mirror. This is not a motivational conversation. This is a frequency audit. And some of what you hear today may hurt because it's true. So take a breath and don't play this while multitasking. We're about to speak into the air you breathe. Let's start with the part most won't say out loud. What happens when you are the contaminant? What happens when the covenant gets compromised because of you? You see, I've been in every room you can name. Street rooms, corporate rooms, power rooms, spiritual rooms. I've observed culture, pecking order, leadership without the title. And truthfully, I've always been that guy, the leader, even if quietly, even if inefficiently. I never wanted to follow somebody else's rhythm. I came to absorb the frame so I could build my own, not to overstep, but to architect. Because I've always wanted my own room, not for ego, for control of energy. But that desire, that control came with weight. Because when you build the room, you're also the risk. I set the tone, I held the frequency, and I didn't allow weakness. I don't tolerate misalignment. If I couldn't roll left and you couldn't roll left, when I said roll left, you got off the boat. But that intensity, that purity of presence, it suffocated people who weren't built for my air. And I saw it. I watched it drain them. People told me, Jeff, I can't keep up with this lifestyle, man. It's killing me. Not because it was evil, but because it was unfiltered pressure. When I drank, you had to drink. When I smoked, you had to stay silent. When I moved reckless, you had to co-sign the lifestyle. Even if it was killing you inside. And later, when I turned to God, to growth, to the apex, to SIP protocol, I did the same thing in reverse. I purified my circle. I became militant with my peace. I cut off vague energy, fear, envy, emotional freeloading, spiritual laziness. I don't give access just because we have history. I don't respond to energy that confuses my calling. I live on do not disturb. And yes, it protects me, but it also isolates me. Because now I see how often I created atmospheres that force people to adapt or collapse. And I got to own that. Now let's talk about the system beneath this. Your nervous system is your filter. Your presence is a frequency transmitter. When you walk into a room, you bring your wounds, your rules, your rhythms, your residue. And your body's trying to synchronize with the space, even when your spirit doesn't agree. Now reverse it. If you are the one holding the air and your internal world is full of fear, ego, insecurity, addiction, you're not leading, you're leaking. You become the very breach you were trying to block. And people don't just breathe in your words. They breathe in your silence, your tone, your expectations, your pressure. So when you build a room around your own dysfunction, you create a covenant that nobody can survive in. This is how spiritual terrorism happens from people who call themselves leaders. This is how families break under false structure. This is how love becomes hostage taking. All because nobody checked the air the leader was breathing out. So what do we do with this? How do we restore the breath? You repent. You recalibrate. You rebuild the room. You lower the pressure. You elevate the presence. You stop equating control with protection. You stop calling suffocation loyalty. You ask real questions. What are people breathing in when they sit with me? What version of God do they experience through my rhythm? Have I made my peace holy or just heavy? Then you let God write the next covenant. You don't just demand alignment. You become breathable. God, the infinite, the creator. Make me clean air, not just strong, not just intense, not just pure, but breathable. Let me never mistake my pressure for your presence. Let me never force someone to conform to a room you never called them to stay in. Make me holy ground. Make me breathable rhythm. Make me a covenant protector. Even when the one I must protect them from is me. Own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.